Burgon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The budget should be judged by one key issue: whether it improves the living standards of the vast majority of people in this country. On that, I'm afraid it has failed. A pay freeze for key workers, the poorest families facing universal credit cuts, 1 million lower paid workers having to now pay income tax, council tax rises. Living standards have faced an assault over the past decade, and that's set to continue. Average wages will be no higher in 2026 than in 2008, almost 2 lost decades. Now, the government expects the vast majority to pay for one of the world's deepest economic collapses caused by its disastrous handling of this virus, including through further cuts to public services, £15 billion per year compared to last year's plans, and a National Health Service budget cut back to pre-pandemic levels despite the need to treat a huge backlog and to fund ongoing vaccine and test and trace schemes. It'll also mean an axe to non-protected areas like local government, already cut to the bone. Now, the government may counter that it's fixing the economy and that a higher tide will lift all boats. That is simply a lie. This budget will see Britain continuing as a low-growth economy, with growth of just 1.7% once the end of lockdown boost wears off. So we have low growth, falling living standards, and hollowed out public services. It's going to feel very similar, I'm afraid, to the last decade for most people. But it doesn't have to be. This should have been the budget to invest massively in growth, in tackling inequality, in jobs, in tackling the climate crisis, in rebuilding our public services, in social housing, in moving us to a high-skill, high-wage economy. Instead, public investment will remain pathetically low, and the main stimulus is a £25 billion corporate handout that may bring business investment forward, but, as the government's figures show, won't increase overall investment levels. Those funds should instead have gone into a huge state investment programme, one also funded by record low borrowing costs and taxes on the super rich, starting with a 50% rate on those on over £125,000. That could spur a shift to net zero with a Green New Deal, build modern transport and infrastructure fit for the 21st century, a mass house building programme, and renew our public services, all boosting growth, which is the best way to pay off the debt, but also creating decent jobs and helping to rebuild communities left behind for far, far too long. That should have been the legacy coming out of this crisis. And that is what, on this side of the House, we will need to fight for.